Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast, and what a trading week we had. Last week, Trump started a potential trade war and the market opened with big gaps. Almost all these gaps got filled during the week. And we ended the week on NFP and had quite a lot of high impact news during the week. So we had erratic price action, and now we are looking where we are for the next week, starting on the DXY on the weekly time frame. We can see we had kind of a dodgy week, an undecided week, and we are still in the area for a potential long continuation and some volume accumulation for the next leg up. 2 weeks ago, we were looking for, we can see that closer or better on the 4-hour time frame. We were already breaking this low here and we were looking for a short continuation. We did not get that. Instead, we get a failed continuation and another high, still a bit lower high. So we are still within the bigger, higher time frame picture of a potential long continuation, and therefore the finishing of kind of a bull flag continuation pattern for the next leg up. So this means for next week, as long as we are trading above these areas here, we are basically looking for US dollar long plays because the higher time frame picture is still in play. So moving on to Euro US dollar. Here on the weekly time frame, it's basically the inverse picture from the DXY. We know that by now, and we see here we had this gap starting on the gap on Monday morning, but got closed. We see it better on the 4-hour time frame, and we are now looking, actually here you can see this huge gap early last week, which then got filled over the first half of the week. We tapped into this area of interest here to the left and then started to sell off. And right now I'm looking for a short continuation to close the gap here, at least into this higher time frame area of interest to the left, and are therefore looking for a clear lower time frame, at least a 1-hour structure and a bear flag continuation pattern in this area for the next leg to the downside. However, if we see a sudden shift in momentum on the DXY, we can see here we have some levels we have to take out first. So if we see an impulsive move to the upside followed by a bull flag continuation on the lower time frame, then we know we take a sign from the market and move our bias into a long. Australian dollar, US dollar on the daily time frame, we can see here it is still on a bigger structure. We have here the higher time frame low here, a value area to the left, and we are still basically the whole structure is a bit through price. We had this erratic movement the last 2 weeks actually, and we are now looking for finishing the move in into a three touch structure, and I'm more leaning towards a short continuation. Going down to the lower time frame, we can see here we have a potential for a long play as well. That might be the start of a bull flag structure here. We have a small liquidity area on this point here and the potential for a 1, 2, 3 bull flag continuation. If I get a very clear cut, at least a 1-hour structure entry here, then of course I would enter a short-term long, at least to just finish here on the 4-hour time frame the bigger structure here, and then would reconsider in this area to enter the short. However, if price just continues to move up, then we get a retest of one of these lows here for a short continuation, then yeah, of course we will go for the higher time frame idea of Australian dollar, US dollar short. The same goes for New Zealand dollar, US dollar. On the daily time frame, we see exactly the same picture. Here we are a bit clearer above this higher time frame value area here to the left. Let me shortly turn off these IVRs here. We don't need them right now. And we can see here on the lower time frame, and we have a slightly better structure right now for a potential long. Looking at the structure, positioning here would actually be okay after tapping through this area here with an impulsive move, and it would make sense for a long continuation play in this area. We have just a very small area to consider, and price could start to sell off here. Of course, there's never a clear black and white, but for now I'm still looking for price to finish the higher time frame structure, and I'm leaning more to a New Zealand dollar US dollar short. However, if I get a clear lower time frame structure for a short term long into a short, then that's still possible to trade. US dollar Canadian. On the weekly time frame, we were looking at these levels for quite some time, and we finally broke out and washed out this higher time frame value area here to the left. This is a second high. Actually, we even tapped, we even took out the previous high here from 2016, I think. Yes, we actually washed out everything and had a very, very bearish reversal week last week. Going down to the daily time frame, positioning wise, we are not clear yet. So we had this washout here, but we are still within this bigger volume accumulation here. So we are still within structure for a long continuation or for going up one more time, tapping the high before we sell off. However, with this strong momentum going down to the 1 hour time frame and this structure in the making, I already know that just from the positioning right now, being still above this low here, within actually this whole sideways corrective price action, that taking a short in this area here is definitely higher risk. But if I get a clear cut structure that would make a 1, 2, 3 retesting this low here, it would still make sense, and I could manage the trade from here just to the low here already. And if it's then the trade which goes, then yeah, of course we are in for a treat early on with a good entry. And on the other hand, if price just starts to sell off early next week and starting to form a similar structure like this here, but outside this overall volume accumulation, then we would actually be on the better side, would then be the second continuation pattern to enter a short. So this would definitely be lower risk, even if it's slightly further in the run. But we are in the higher time frame, going back to the daily or even the weekly, we can see we are really in an area where it would make sense to start looking for shorts. Then US dollar yen. Here is very similar. We start on the weekly time frame. We had a strong sell-off last week, a strong bearish week, and are now just looking for a continuation to finish the next leg into this higher time frame value area here to the left. We are now on the 4 hour time frame, and we see structurally we don't have anything to worry in here. The next low might be here, so that would be roughly 90% of the run, but still way more than enough room if we get a deliberate structure here on the 4 hour or 1 hour as a 1, 2, 3 continuation structure. I'm more than happy to enter that as a short trade. Euro Australian dollar, let me turn them off here. On the weekly time frame, we had this on watch on and off over the last month or two, because we are positioned, it's a prime position for a short here from this area here, right? So and we were always looking, as long as we are within this structure, we are not really looking for long or shorts. But now we can see on the daily time frame, we almost tapped, so we have a near miss here to the high again, but we had a strong weak fill after the gap here, after opening gap, and we then just continued to sell off for the whole week, and are now, we actually gained more momentum towards the end of the week. So we have more short momentum towards the second half or end of the week, and closed completely outside this volume accumulation here. So right now, as it is, I'm looking here on the 1 hour time frame for a bear flag continuation. And as long as price and the whole structure is outside the higher time frame structure, then I'm more than happy to enter a short continuation in this area. Euro Canadian. On the weekly time frame. So here we see here as well, we had a very, very, very strong impulsive bearish week last week, and ended almost without the week compared to the whole size. So we see a clear shift in momentum, and the previous week we were actually tapping into this high here, just just so barely. We still have a gap, of course, to this higher time frame value area, so it would still make sense for price to come up one more time. But after this strong momentum, I'm looking for a momentum play and a continuation, because we can see here we are nowhere. This is the next area of interest to consider as a potential turnaround. And we had some here kind of a consolidation area where price started to accumulate a bit more volume, which would be enough actually to drive price further down in terms of a momentum play. So therefore I'm looking on the 1 hour time frame, actually going down to the 15-minute time frame here for a momentum play, a potential momentum play in euro Canadian dollar. And if I get a 1, 2, 3 here on the lower time frame, but still I would at least take a 1 hour entry here for a momentum play and a short continuation. Swiss francs, Japanese yen. Same again. Sorry for that. I have to turn them off. I forgot to turn them off. They're very old. We have here again another momentum play. We had 3 very bearish days towards the end of the week, and we still have a gap here to close to the next value area on the higher time frame, and are now looking similar to euro Canadian dollar for a momentum play on the 1 hour time frame for this instance. And we have 2 potential areas which I actually like to consider. So this is a more obvious liquidity point here, slightly higher up considered to where we are in the run. So if price goes up, I would then see how price reacts on this area. But right now, just for a momentum play on Monday morning, basically during Asia session or towards the end of Asia session, I would like to see a 1, 2, 3 on the 1 hour time frame as a bear flag continuation to enter a short in this area here. And then at least it's possible to manage the trade to the low, and if it's a trade which breaks through, then we have a very good early entry. Pound New Zealand dollar. We had a trade here. Let me shortly show the trade. That's my only trade I took last week. We were looking at this pair for a while already, and we were actually looking for initially for a short, but then we saw a failed structure here, so we were looking here for a short continuation. Instead we get a long, quite a bullish momentum change in momentum, and then we were looking on the 4 hour time frame for a long continuation. And initially we were looking at this area of interest here to the left, and we saw that we had a volume accumulation and impulsive break to the upside, and I was then looking for a long continuation into this high to the left to at least close this gap here. So we get a 1, 2, 3, and this was a 1 hour entry, a very nice 2-touch continuation structure, and I entered that here after this second touch with a very nice candlestick reversal formation, quite a tight stop. Then price reached fairly fast 1.6 plus, and I moved my stop to break even and then got tagged out for break even after price started to turn around. Even here we can see we were clearly on the wrong side of the market, but the structures are so strong and such deliberate price action that even if I'm on the wrong side of the market, it gives me enough time to manage the trade and get out for a break even at least. So I'm now looking for a short continuation. My overall bias would still be pound is stronger than a New Zealand dollar. So I know in the back of my head that there is still a reason for price to go up one more time to at least close this gap. But we have now quite clear-cut price action to know what to look for. I like these setups quite a lot because right now we have a potential 3-touch structure in the making. So we see this low here, we are trading through this area here already, and this definitely looks more like a bear flag continuation. So if I get a nice proper base here, one more base, and price testing this liquidity point here to the left and giving me again a clear cut like we had here, a clear cut 1 hour candlestick reversal pattern, that would be a good entry for a short. And however, if we say And we see prices breaking up impulsively and then giving us on the lower time frame a bullish continuation outside this structure above this liquidity point. Then we take a sign of the market and switch bias into a long. Then we have here New Zealand dollar Canadian, and this here on the weekly time frame we have as well this very strong bearish impulsive week, and are now looking for here on the daily time frame. We had this pair on watch for a while, even though we know we are not coming from a value area. We missed it with this small gap here. The structure, how price action respects structure on New Zealand dollar Canadian is quite nice. So we had this 1, 2, 3. We had this very clear continuation, bearish continuation in this area here, and then we have here we had kind of a V shape in the making and then just missed it by a bit last week. However, we see momentum is still kind of kicking in to close it, to close the bigger target we had for quite some time. We had this value area here, closing the gap into this value area as a initial target for a few weeks now, and I'm looking now for a short continuation. I'm jumping here to the 1 hour time frame because we can see we are not very well positioned right now. We have this low here, and we have here a bit chaotic price action outside, kind of a bit more complex structure, and we are now starting to consolidate just above this low. So I would like to see this consolidation below the low, so I'm waiting for price to break through and then showing me this kind of a bear flag continuation outside this bit more complex structure for a short continuation into the higher time frame low. So I'm not interested to take a structure just here on top of this low. I'd like to see some impulsive continuation first. However, if we get a bigger structure, and let me move it a little bit. If we get a structure and then retesting this area, something like that, that would also be totally fine, because then the majority of the structure would be through price and not above price, therefore reducing the overall risk of the position and still giving me a fairly good entry to finish the last leg to the downside. Yeah, that's it. That's my watch list for next week. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye bye.